I'm sure we all remember the first time we tried to learn how to ride a bike. All of the countless times we would fall off, we would lose our footing, so on and so forth. But after a while, after a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of dedication, we finally learned how to ride the bike. And as you're young, you ride your bike around the neighborhood with the neighborhood kids. I'm not sure if they do this anymore, but back before smartphones and iPods, that's what we used to do when we were young. You used to go ride through the woods, so on and so forth. And then as you get older, you start doing other things. But anytime you get on a bike, even if you've never rode one for years at a time, you still remember how to do so. You don't worry about changing the gears, how you're pedaling, or anything at all. You can focus on the road. Same thing with driving. When you first learn how to drive, you're worried about the gas and the brake. You're worried about changing gears. But once you master driving after repetition, then it becomes natural to you, like swimming for a fish or breathing. And that is because we as humans have a subconscious mind. And through repetition, through dedication, and through hard work, we can learn anything. Whether it is playing an instrument, beliefs about ourselves, how we view reality, and so on and so forth. And that is because of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind never rests. According to research from Dr. Marcus Rachi at Harvard University, who believes that autopilot thinking can either be a help or hindrance. When we sleep, we meditate, or even daydream, our conscious mind switches off, but our subconscious or deeper mind continues to run, whether we are aware of it or not. Researchers have found that subconscious thoughts, which are often embedded so deep in our psyche, can be tied to chronic stress and mental illness, but also success. When our brain is at rest, our subconscious mind becomes the strongest. And this internal dialogue that we sometimes unknowingly carry around begins to present itself. It is through meditation, creativity, and listening to our intuition that we begin to understand what our subconscious mind is saying. Looking at brain scans, scientists have confirmed that when the mind is daydreaming or not involved in the current external environment, the parts of the brain that are usually silent light up the strongest. These include the prefrontal cortex, the temporal lobes, and the partial cortex. So the prefrontal cortex makes up 10% of the volume of the brain and is involved in executive functions like reflective behaviors, planning, decision-making, problem-solving, self-control, and acting with long-term goals in mind. The temporal lobe is involved in processing sensory input into meaning of visual memory, language comprehension, and emotional association. Also responsible for memory shortage. So the way that you perceive reality. The partial cortex plays an important role in planned movements, spatial reasoning, and attention. So isn't it insane that when our brains are in autopilot, when we're sleeping, daydreaming, meditating, the parts that light up on the brain scan have to do with decision making, our perception of language and what we see, and also in reasoning and attention. Interesting how that works, right? Channeling into your inner thoughts can be positive or negative depending on your subconscious thoughts. We use only 5% of the brain's capacity, which means the subconscious mind controls the remaining 95%. Your subconscious mind is like a memory bank, storing and sorting everything that has happened to you. By the time a human reaches the age of 21, the amount of data received and stored is 100 times the contents of the Encyclopedia Britannica. That's 32 volumes, 32,640 pages of 40 million and a half topics. The subconscious knows no time. There is no past or future, simply now. Using affirmations with the word now or in present will help align your subconscious thoughts. And that's what I do quite a bit. I will visualize how I want my future to be, how I want my body to look, how I want my house to look, how I want my surroundings to be. And that's because your subconscious cannot tell the difference between the past, the future, or the present. So if you can program your mind to view things in the prism of the present, then your subconscious mind will work towards getting to that point. According to the Neuro-Linguistic Programming Model, NLP, every single second, humans are bombarded with over 2 million bits of data. It's the subconscious mind's duty to help filter through that. Otherwise, the conscious mind would be extremely overwhelmed, unable to do its job. The subconscious mind goes through this constant barrage of information that is continually being downloaded and sorts through what is necessary at the time, processing 7 chunks of information. This is called chunking, different groupings of information, rather than one long string of information. The results of is then communicated to the conscious through images, feelings, sensations, dreams, and reflexes. There are no words, merely representation. So the way your conscious mind learns something is by literally learning it. So if you want to learn about, let's say, George Washington, you can read a book about him, remember the facts, and then reference those facts that are stored into your brain. That is how your conscious mind learns. But the way your subconscious mind learns and communicates is by images, dreams, feelings, sensations, so on and so forth. So have you ever had an experience where during the day you didn't think much about it? Say a significant other, a family member, something you wanted to achieve. During the day you ignored it. But when you went to sleep, you dreamed about it. And as you woke up, those first few minutes when you were in between sleep and awake, you had a strong gut feeling about that person or about that thing. That is your subconscious mind using intuition combined with imagery to communicate to you. 15 minutes before falling asleep, where the mind and body begin to calm down, muscles loosen up and breathing is more relaxed. This is where the brain produces alpha waves. In this 15-minute window between wakefulness and sleep, there are 7 to 14 electrical waves each second. This is the subconscious mind's tunnel open to receive messages. And it's the same way right as you wake up. But basically what I like to do is, before I go to sleep, as I'm going to sleep, I like to put on these binaural beats for 15 to 20 minutes. But as I'm going to sleep, I purposely set aside time and I visualize. I visualize what I want my house to look like. I visualize success in business because I want to be a business mogul someday. I visualize my body being in really good shape because I'm working out quite regularly and I'm visualizing success. I visualize being able to travel anywhere I want to go. And I visualize where I want to get to. As I go to sleep, then that will be then programmed in my mind. And then when I wake up, I listen to affirmations. It's all about getting your mind to believe where you want to go. Because like I said, your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between the here and the now. And that's also why focusing on gratitude is a good thing as well. I listened to this meditation that focuses on having food on the table, air in your lungs, life in your body, sight and hearing to be able to experience the world. And what happens is your brain filters out through the negativity and you can focus more on the positivity. Like for instance, today I was sitting in traffic for quite a substantial period of time. But instead of being angry, instead of being impatient like I would have been, I thought to myself, well, at least I have air conditioning in the car. At least I have just had a good meal and my food in the stomach is fulfilling and I'm full. And that's all about your subconscious mind filtering things out. But that's why you've got to become very mindful about what you put into your brain. Watching the media constantly, watching film that is negative, listening to music about degrading women, shooting the cops, and other negative things, stores that into your subconscious mind. And then your brain filters that out, creating negative thought patterns. And I'm going to say this, I don't give a fuck if you don't like it. I don't give a shit if you don't like it. But a large reason that a lot of individuals have anxiety, depression, and they hate themselves is because their subconscious minds are negative. The media programs us to think in the negative. The human mind, in its essence, thinks in the negative because it wants to keep us alive. We are constantly looking for perceived threats, and as a result, our mind focuses on the negative. And because of that, we as human beings focus on the negative as well. Combine that with listening to horrible music, watching violence on TV constantly, and what do? You get anxiety, depression, people that need pills just to be able to do basic functions in society. And also, they've not toughened up mentally. Think about it, millennials have not been in any major war like Vietnam. And I'm talking about the majority of, the Vietnam generation got butchered just like the World War II generation did. But there has been no major war where millennials have been forced to grow up. There has been no major famine. The millennials have grown up in an abundant society. And what I mean by that is the average millennial in America has never had to go hungry, has never had to go thirsty. They've always had what they've needed in terms of resources. So as a result, you combine that of not being mentally tough, not forming neurological pathways of toughness, along with thinking negative thought patterns, what do? You get a recipe for disaster. But that's why what you put into your subconscious mind, positive affirmations. In the morning, I do positive affirmations right when I wake up. Right before I go to sleep, I visualize, and in the middle of the day, I give myself positive affirmations. Gratitude, what you tend to focus on is what your brain tends to see. But if you do all those things, then you will notice that your brain can function at a higher level. And just like riding a bike, just like tying your shoe, just like driving a car, your brain forms neurological pathways. And you can function at a higher level.